We do our thing, animals do their thing. And it's not often that we're able to communicate with each other in a way that both species resonate with or recognize. But there are exceptions to that rule, especially when lives are saved. From a waving, smiling sloth to a hugging swan, here are 15 times humans rescued animals and got thanked in the cutest way. Number 15. Brazilian soldier saves jaguar. This photo isn't actually as it seems. Still, we're gonna share it anyway because it highlights an issue that the world needs to address. What looks like is happening in the photo is a Brazilian soldier diving into the Amazon River to save a jaguar. Those who saw the picture were furious with how wildfires were destroying the forest and that the jaguar had to resort to swimming in the river to survive. It's all very touching to see what the soldier did, but the internet can be full of mistruths. What actually happened in this photo, taken by Brazilian photographer None Mangueira in 2016, is much different. It was a photo taken as part of a project to save jaguars in the Amazon, but this jaguar isn't in any danger. His name is Chiquitaya, and the Brazilian army adopted him when hunters killed his mother. Soldiers raised the baby jaguar and took him swimming every day. In that photo, he was 2 years old. The photo forms part of the Jaguars in the Amazon project created by the Military Command of the Amazon, a branch of the Brazilian Army. The goal of this project is to highlight the preservation of the jaguar species in the area. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 14. Grateful sloth waves and smiles. In June 2020, Jose Aldanizio noticed a sloth on the road during peak traffic in Angra dos Reis, Brazil. Given how slow and docile sloths are, there would be no way it would be able to get off the road safely without human intervention. So Jose became that human to intervene. He stopped traffic and carried the sloth in his arms while quickly running across the road to some trees. They were likely where the sloth had come from in the first place. He gently placed the sloth in the tree and patiently waited for it to cling onto a branch firmly before letting go. As soon as he noticed the sloth gripping onto what is probably his familiar territory, the man let go and walked away. But he turned back and waved at the sloth before he headed off. He probably expected the sloth to carry on with its sloth business, but it didn't. Strangely, it turned its head, lifted its arm, and appeared to wave back at the man with what seemed to be a smile on its face. It's probably just a coincidence, but the sloth did appear to be genuinely happy to be saved. Number 13. Bella the squirrel returns to family that saved her. For the most part, wild animals require no intervention, but there will be times when an injured animal needs our care to live out their lives in the wild comfortably. At 4 weeks old, a squirrel named Bella was severely injured by an owl. She could never survive in the wild with such horrific injuries, so a wildlife rescue group took her in and placed her in the care of Brantley Harrison and her family. They quite often rehabilitated animals and were happy to oblige. They placed baby Bella with 3 other squirrels they had in their care. They were all kept in an outdoor release cage with nuts, formula, fruit, and veggies. Typically, when squirrels are old enough for release, they go out into the wild, return a couple of times, then reintegrate into the wild successfully. But something was different about Bella. She continued to come back almost every day for nuts and attention from the humans who once cared for her. When she injured her foot, they took her in for care once more, and she gave birth. So they were able to care for Bella as a baby, and then her babies, until they were all successfully released into the wild. Number 12. Dog shows gratitude after being rescued. In 2018, a woman noticed 2 dogs on a 2-foot chain left in over 100-degree weather without food or water. They had been there for a few days, and she waited and watched to see if their owners or anyone would help them. When help didn't come, the kind lady decided to be that help. She unchained the dogs and put them into her car. Without food or water, they would never have survived much longer. In such poor conditions, dogs may be quite fearful and maybe even aggressive. But what this lady noticed was altogether different. They were grateful. When she started driving with the dogs in her car, one reached out for her hand, wanting affection. She rubbed his face and chest and gave him attention, but he kept wanting more and then cuddling her. The lady fought back tears while telling the dogs it's okay and petting the one who had showed so much gratitude for her kind deed. She couldn't believe that a dog who had been neglected and had every reason to hate humans wasn't mad at her. Number 11. Swan hugs man who saves his life. It's worth knowing that swans are incredibly territorial creatures. They protect their land, and you're in trouble if you happen to go near their nests. Sure, swans are beautiful, but they're also extremely vicious, which is what makes this story so heartwarming. Richard Weiss visited Abbotsbury Swanery in the UK to host a TV show called Born to Explore. While filming, he noticed an injured swan that had flown into a chain-link fence. Rather than leave it, he got close to it to make it feel comfortable, then took it to a sanctuary for medical treatment. And that was that, or so Richard thought. Years later, Richard met up with the swan again, and it remembered him. Instead of getting aggressive and territorial, it relaxed into him and wrapped its neck around Richard's. The swan was totally relaxed and comfortable in his company, even though it didn't typically show this behavior with other people. Richard said he could feel its heart beating and knew the swan was entirely relaxed around him. He said it's a wonderful moment when an animal totally trusts you. Number 10. Penguin visits man who saved his life. In 2011, a retired bricklayer and fisherman, João Pereira de Souza, found a tiny penguin close to death. It was lying on the rocks on a beach near Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, covered in oil. João took him home, cleaned off the oil, and fed him fish every day to build up his strength. He named the penguin Dindim. He then tried to release him back into the sea a week later, but the penguin wouldn't leave. He ended up staying for 11 months before eventually disappearing. João thought that was the end of his penguin friendship, but that wasn't the case. A few months later, Dindim returned.
Quando ele me viu lá no portão, ele já veio com aquela alegria.
Since then, he lives with João for 8 months of the year before traveling to breed off Argentina and Chile coasts. He'll then make the 5,000-mile trip back to stay with João. João says he loves the penguin like he's his own child, and the penguin is hugely attached to João as well. He doesn't let anyone else touch him or he'll peck them, but he'll lie on João's lap, let him pick him up, and be hand-fed sardines. João said that no one believed the penguin would come back, but he arrives in June of every year, then leaves again in February. He wags his tail like you would see a dog do and honks when he sees the man who saved him. Number 9. Condor visits man who saved his life. Condors are North America's largest birds, and they're not exactly pet material. They're giant New World vultures and the largest flying land birds in the Western Hemisphere. They also live for over 50 years and mate for life. The world's oldest condor was 100 when it died. Argentinian man Edgardo got to see another side of the bird, one that most people would never get to see. Edgardo had rescued a condor as a baby when it fell out of its mother's nest. He nursed the chick back to health and released it into the wild when it was old enough to care for itself. When the condor returned, it was like a family reunion. The now massive condor embraced Edgardo in a hug, who affectionately says, "Hi, how are you crazy thing? How do you do? What a beauty you are." Edgardo's cousin filmed the encounter, which showed the condor was more than comfortable in the man's company. He nuzzled his head into him and proved that animals could truly be grateful for human intervention. The bird then happily cleaned itself under a nearby tap, clearly knowledgeable with how human-made products work. Number 8. Elk kisses firefighters. Now, most people know that you shouldn't get close to elk. They are one of the largest species in the deer family and should be left to do their own thing. But there are going to be exceptions to that rule, such as when it's the elk that won't leave the human alone. Buttons the elk got up close and personal with firefighters from Washington's Cutest County Fire District No. 7 who had been putting out a hillside blaze. She smooched up against the firefighters, tried to take bites out of their food, and was generally interested in being around people. She appeared thankful for their efforts to control the blaze, but there's also more to this story. Buttons is not your average wild elk. She was orphaned in the area and ended up bonding with horses, goats, and cows at a nearby ranch. She doesn't hang around with other elk and doesn't really see herself as one of them. Instead, she wants to see what the humans are doing and wants to be part of the group. When she saw the firefighters, she sauntered up to their command post and didn't want to leave. Number 7. Nora the rescue dog reunited with her daughter. Get a box of tissues ready, for you're about to experience a real tearjerker. When Nora the dog was 10 months old, she had already lived her entire life in a cage at a backyard breeding facility in Manitoba, Canada. In 2008, the heavily pregnant Nora was rescued, along with several other dogs, from some appalling conditions. She was all skin and bones, dirty, and had chain burns around her neck. She was also afraid and would cower if you patted her, thinking you might be trying to hit her. Funds for Furry Friends arranged the care of Nora and her puppies, who ended up in new homes. The Spence family adopted Nora to live with their family, which included 3 cats and a dog. She was gentle, eager to please, and kind. The Spence family grew to include 3 children, which Nora formed an immediate bond with. Then, they received a call that a family who took one of Nora's puppies could no longer care for her. The Spence family grew once more to include Remington, or Remy, Nora's daughter. The dogs were inseparable from day one. Someone cutting onions in here? Number 6. Kangaroo loses family and hugs everyone. When Abigail the kangaroo was 5 months old, she lost her mother. Her life then took a turn for the worst, and she was being hunted down. Fortunately, Abigail ended up being saved by the Kangaroo Sanctuary, which is primarily operated by volunteers. Even though Abigail was covered in scrapes and cuts, she was nursed back to health. She could have easily snubbed her rescuers, but that didn't appear to be in Abigail's nature. Every day, the Roo would show her gratitude for her rescuers by dishing out hugs to everyone at the sanctuary. She would wrap her front legs around anyone who showed her any interest and affection. Chris Bolga founded the nonprofit sanctuary in 2006 just outside of Alice Springs when it was discovered the nearest animal rescue center was 1,500 kilometers away. It aims to provide special care for orphaned kangaroos that are often the victims of hunting. Number 5. Owl hugs man who saved him. Gigi, the horned owl, was on death's door. Left in the wild any longer, and she would never have made it. Before arriving at Wild at Heart Rescue in Mississippi, she had suffered significant head trauma. She was also full of parasites and had aspergillosis, which is similar to pneumonia you see in humans. She lost a significant amount of weight as she recovered, but recover she did. Her constant companion and helper at the rescue facility was Douglas Pajecki, the rescue's president, who people call the Birds of Prey Whisperer. He took great pride in nursing Gigi back to health. Slowly, she went from strength to strength, going from being hand-fed to feeding herself and being able to perch. When Douglas went to Michigan for a short holiday, Gigi was without her best friend. When he returned, she showed her gratitude in the best way possible, by giving him a big hug. When he was examining her, she bobbed her head, danced on his arm, then walked up to his chest and rested her head on his shoulder. She then wrapped her wings around him. The contented look on her face is hard to miss. We're not crying, you're crying. Number 4. Thankful Koala. When temperatures peaked at 46.6 degrees Celsius or 115.8 degrees Fahrenheit in Adelaide, Australia, it wasn't only humans affected, animals were too. Footage hit the internet in January 2019 of a koala drinking out of a water bottle while holding a man's hand. The man had tipped the water into a sink positioned on the ground and motioned for the koala to drink from it. The koala couldn't quite work out what he meant, so he tipped up the water bottle gently and allowed the koala to drink directly from it. He then motioned for the koala to drink from the sink, but it was having none of that. It pulled the man's hand towards him and encouraged him to give the drink bottle again. The koala then happily drank from that once more. Hearts melted around the world, with people amazed that the koala not only let him be near him, but would allow him to give it water. Even though that's not the correct way to provide a koala with water, the koala didn't seem to mind. In 100+ degree temperatures, any source of hydration is gonna be much appreciated. Number 3. Man saves abandoned baby deer. A Lithuanian outdoorsman named Darius Sosnauskas became a fawn's best friend after a mother deer gave birth to 2 babies in his backyard near the Yellowstone National Park. Because one of the babies had an injured leg, it couldn't keep up, and the other baby and its mama took off without it. As the area is full of predators, Darius knew it didn't stand a chance in the wild on its own. He took it into his home to nurse it back to health. Darius said he doesn't support keeping wild animals as pets, but he also didn't want to see it die either. He created a leg brace for her out of an oatmeal box and fed her every 4 hours. Even Darius's dog gave a helping hand by licking the fawn's face. Eventually, the fawn learned to walk again, and Darius set about releasing her back into the wild. But every time he tried, she would follow him home. One day, the mother deer and the other baby returned, and she was able to rejoin her family. Darius spotted her again since, and loved knowing that she was back to full health and able to live life to the fullest. Number 2. Lion hugs and kisses rescuer. Lions are definitely not animals you'll often find hugging and kissing people. They're more likely to try and attack you in the wild, if we're being honest. But what if a human saves a lion's life? Well, the outcome might be very different. Years-old footage surfaced on the internet of a lion kissing a woman who rescued him years before. Ana Julia Torres runs the Villa Lorena Animal Shelter based in Cali, Colombia. She was responsible for saving Jupiter, the African lion, who was destined for a life in a traveling circus. She brought Jupiter home, nursed him back to health, then later put him in a zoo. Once he was in good health, she visited him. Anna probably didn't expect the lion to remember her, but he did. At first, it looks like the lion's trying to reach out and attack her, but you soon realize that is not the case. The lion is reaching out affectionately and gently nuzzles her face through the bars. The video was uploaded to YouTube in 2011, and it received millions of views. Number 1. Chimpanzee thanks Jane. Dr. Jane Goodall is a well-known animal activist. She has played a part in saving several hundred animals' lives throughout her career. Wunda is one of many who has shown appreciation for what she and others like her do every day. Wunda, which means close to dying in Congo, is the name of a chimpanzee that was taken into the Jane Goodall Institute's Chimpunga Chimpanzee Rehabilitation Center in the Republic of Congo. As Wunda's name suggests, she was close to dying, but the center was able to rehabilitate her. It took years of care until she was strong enough to be released, but it's obvious she was thankful for all they had done for her. She repaid her kindness by hugging Jane Goodall before she was released. When Wunda first arrived at the sanctuary, she was losing weight and suffering from several serious illnesses. She received 1 liter of milk each morning, and she started recovering. Once she was ready, her carers released her at a sanctuary site near the Kuilo River on Chinzolo Island. Animals are the best, aren't they? Even some that could typically harm us are not always out to get us. Have you ever saved an animal from a tricky situation and it seemed to thank you in some way? We'd love to hear your story. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time!